Good morning, everyone. This is Marlene Shirley with the Shawnee Chamber of Commerce, and we are talking about benefits today with Amber Gehring, Max Wilbur, and Kevin Macleas. Amber is with Gehring and Granatino, Max is with Christensen Group, and Kevin is with Edward Jones. I am going to go over to Amber. She's the first one on my screen, so I'm just going that way. It's easier for me. And let her introduce herself and give us a little short explanation of benefits that she, in her world of expertise and what she is seeing.
All right. Hi, my name is Amber Gehring. I am a co-owner of a firm called Gehring and Granatino. We are a CPA firm located in Overland Park. I live in Shawnee. We have about 40 employees now, and we primarily service small to medium-sized businesses, their shareholders, families, and then we do service individuals as well for tax planning and consulting. We, as you can imagine, with 40 employees in this market, really do try hard to keep them. And there are a number of things that we do, which we'll get to. I think, Marlene, what you wanted this to be was an introduction of each of our businesses, and then we'll get on to the questions after that. So
yes,
I believe Max is next. So
okay.
Excellent. Thanks, Amber. Max Wilbur, Vice President of Employee Benefits with the Christensen Group. Christensen Group is a full-service insurance brokerage focusing on small to medium-sized businesses. So those businesses that may have 2 employees up to, call it 500. So that kind of space gives us a wide breadth of knowledge, but also an expertise where we can apply those strategies that we see at the 500 life group down to a 40 life group like Amber was mentioning, or even a 10 life small business that's struggling to retain employees. That's kind of where we come in, create a strategy and an idea of what those costs would be, and then ultimately listen to the employees, hear their feedback, and continue to refine that strategy as well, so that the benefits they're actually receiving are perceived as high value, and additionally are cost neutral or cost at least beneficial towards the small business as well. So I'll turn it over to Kevin real quick.
Well, thanks, Max and Amber, and good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Macleas. I'm a financial advisor with the firm Edward Jones. I would assume you've probably heard of our firm. We're a Fortune 500 financial services company in North America, Canada, and the United States, 20,000 advisors. I'm one of the 20,000. I operate a practice right here in Shawnee. I live in Shawnee, so pretty committed to this community. And I work with about 400 families and small business owners and their employees. So kind of personal wealth management for individuals. Some of those individuals own small businesses, and so therefore we get the opportunity to work with them and their family along with the employees of their small business, because we work in the retirement planning space. And so that encompasses offering small business owners retirement plans that they can offer their employees, like a 401k or a Simple Ira or another tool called a SEP IRA. And we can talk about that a little bit further in this recording. So I'll turn it back over to Marlene.
Thank you all for introducing yourselves. And I know everyone's time is very valuable, so we will go ahead and go back to Amber and let her talk about her how she helps small businesses and guides them in offering benefits to their employees.
Sure, Marlene. I think some of the benefits that we offer are really just employee engagement initiatives. Like, for instance, we do a program called the First 15 Reading Program, where for the first 15 minutes before each employee turns on their computer, they read from a list of approved teamwork books or business books. And that is just to get their minds outside of what they're doing every day, and just kind of think outside the box a little bit. We do bring in a massage therapist every once in a while. As you know, we have a lot of workload compression in our industry during those first several months of the year. So we do a scavenger hunt and a busy season fun calendar, where we'll do an ice cream bar or a bar cart or buffet style things. We do, like I said, a scavenger hunt where each person might find, anything from a gift card here to an Xbox there. So we do fun things like that. As far as benefits, as Max mentioned, there are benefits that a small firm like mine of 40 employees can offer to their employees that are cost effective. And the way we do it, and the way we recommend a lot of our small businesses do it, is through what's called a PEO, a professional employment organization. And because of that PEO, it saved us about $25,000 in health insurance every year. We provide 100% of our employees health insurance. We can provide them life, disability, dental, all of that. And that helps us as a smaller business provide a very cost-effective benefits program that really helps those employees. So those are just a tip of the iceberg on the things we try to offer for employee recruitment and retention.
Thank you, Amber. How does someone find a PEO?
Well, there are actually several in the KC metro area, and there are a couple that we work with, and I'm happy to give those names out later. And I'm sure Max would too, and Kevin, if people would like some personal experience with those certain PEOs. Don't want to advertise for anybody on this call.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Hey, Marlene.
Yes.
Yeah, quick point on that. So PEOs, a lot of times, actually, it kind of falls to the insurance brokers a lot of times to help with that. So we actually do full PEO assessments for our clients. So we can look at the different PEOs, price them out, understand what services are included. Additionally, just understand if a PEO even makes sense in the first place, compare apples to apples of, hey, if you're in the PEO model, does that make sense for a cost reasons, or would it make more sense for you to stay independent as a small business? So that's kind of a full evaluation. A lot of times you can get that from a full service brokerage like Christensen Group or another one as well.
And that's right. Max is right. It depends on whether, it's a large testing group. It's age, it's years of service, it's all kinds of things that make the PEO make sense or not make sense. And so that's great advice, Max.
Okay, and now we'll go to Max and let you share some of more of your expertise on benefits and health insurance and all that is involved there.
Sure, I'll kind of take on what we think of as traditional benefits then.
Yeah.
I know Amber mentioned a couple of different ideas, and I loved her culture discussion. And I know Kevin will dive into retirement. Let me tackle a little bit more on the insurance products. So your health insurance, dental, vision, life, disability, those kind of products as well. So starting with health insurance, this is probably the biggest heartburn I see with our clients and any groups we talk to that are in the small business space. And the number one reason is costs keep going up and the perceived value of that insurance keeps going down. So, looking at trend data over the last 20 years, they've really diverged where, companies used to perceive benefits and employees thought that was a good option on the health insurance side. And now it's just a burden that they have to carry. So we want to kind of change that narrative. And number one, there are plan offerings that can do that. So I do want to, not that I necessarily want to advertise either, but there's one specific product I do kind of want to dive into, and that's called the Chamber Choice products offered through Blue Cross. These are specifically geared products towards the small group market. In our world, there's kind of multiple levels of how health insurance is funded. Number one, that can begin with fully insured. That's where you simply pay a premium as an employer. It goes to the insurance company and they cover your health insurance as defined by the benefits. Number two is on the other side of that spectrum is self-funded. Self-funded, you would rely on a carrier like a Blue Cross or a Cigna. They would administer the plan, offer you the access to their networks, do all the claims adjudication and all those kind of pieces. But then ultimately the claims would be paid for by yourself. So you'd be writing the check for each of those claim costs. We see this a lot more on the larger group side as it, again, one bad claim on a small group can definitely ruin the whole plan year. So we tend to see that typically over 100 employees really take hold at 200 employees and kind of go off there. So that leaves us this little gap where these chamber choice and level funded style products can come into play. And level funded basically works as a hybrid between the self-funded and the fully insured products. So without going into too much details and putting everyone to sleep here, the level funded essentially allows you to pay a certain maximum of those claims to the insurance company like you would if you were fully insured. But if your claims happen to run better, you actually receive a portion of the savings back as a refund. So speaking on those chamber choice plans, they fit in that level funded case. They're a great option to look at as any employer, 5 employees to around 50. Now these different plans, Blue Cross retains 1/3 of the savings if you come in below their claims value, but you get the extra 2/3 of that back in your pocket and on your balance sheet if you happen to run really well as a plan. Now, I'll caution, level funded plans do not make sense for a lot of groups. They are a fit like a PEO would be, as we mentioned earlier, and something to be evaluated, but it's another arrow in the quiver to look at, in addition to, like we mentioned, the traditional insurance fully insured or the PEO model. So chamber choice is one that I would definitely recommend with Blue Cross. However, again, my caution would be do an evaluation. And to do that, you're probably best served to find a reputable agent or broker who knows the market, understands the difference, understands the tax implications and the cash flow side of it as well, as that can be a big burden to your business if you have to pay certain cash flow differences in the funding arrangement versus a set monthly cost. On the dental and vision side, there's not a lot that's changed there in the last 20 years, but the biggest thing we hear from employees is mainly that they want to have access to those options. They want to understand and be able to use them for themselves. And most of the time we see this actually with parents looking for their kids. That's where the highest perceived value is inside the dental and vision plans. And then one that we've seen kind of an uptick in recently, and not that this was not popular before, but the life and disability has really taken a mainstay through the COVID era, because we had a lot more disabilities start to hit the books. Additionally, people understanding, hey, what does a loss of income actually mean to me? Especially if they were in an hourly situation where factories or manufacturing plants were shut down during the COVID era, it's top of mind for them. They understand how hard that was at the time, and now they'd like some protection against that. So those plans, especially on the life insurance side, can be very, very affordable to offer something. They also carry certain tax advantages up to certain limits that should be included and considered when evaluating if those plans should be offered. So the last thing I'll kind of say, just to wrap all this up, is the most important thing, and you've heard me mention a couple times, is perceived value. There's a big study done that if you educate and talk with your employees on a quarterly or more frequent basis, they believe that their benefits are worth 25 to 40% more than if you don't communicate with them. So half of the issue here is actually not spending the money on the benefits, but it's taking the time to make sure that your employees understand the benefits they're being offered. They also make sure that they tailor towards their situations and their lives. And that's very easily done. Just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of communication effort.
Thank you, Max. No questions at the moment, but Kevin, we'll go to you now. Let you talk about retirement.
You bet. Well, boy, that is great information, Amber and Max. So I'll kind of close this out and parlay some of what they said. And I really want to pick up where Max left off there as far as the value the employees receive, because I think that's one of the struggles a lot of small business owners that I work with battle. And that is typically a small business owner will explore offering retirement plan opportunities to their employees more out of a bit of a selfish framework, and that is that they want to be able to defer cash that the business has earned in a very tax efficient way for themselves. And so they utilize the tax benefits that we have in the United States by using 401ks or simple IRAs or SEP IRAs. All three of those plans essentially allow the business owner to stash tens of thousands of dollars, depending on how you structure the plan and which plan you pick, in a pre-tax vehicle. And quite often the plans have additional tax benefits against the self-employment portion of the tax liability. So it can be sort of a two for your one, bang for your buck type thing. But in the United States, we basically say, if you're going to have some benefits for you as the small business owner, it must also benefit your employees. And so what we're always working with is the balancing act between how much does the employer want to put away for themselves and sometimes their spouse or children that work with them, as in comparison to the employees that work in the company. Usually I work very closely with someone like Amber or another CPA or tax advisor in discerning which would be the most appropriate plan to meet the desires of the small business owner in, again, how much they want to put away for themselves, and then what they're willing to put away on behalf of their employees. What we see and what we struggle with is sometimes the employees don't perceive a lot of value in the 401k or the Simple IRA being offered to them. And so, as Max said, I think one of the most important things is a constant line of communication with your staff on the benefit they're receiving, why you're offering the plan. And then one of the things that I think separates, working with a personal financial advisor like myself or anyone else that offers these types of plans on a personalized basis is I come in and meet with your employees at least once a year. All the employees have access to call us anytime and ask questions and talk about investments. And particularly in a year like 2022, where the stock market and the bond market has been really, really volatile, a lot of employees appreciate having access to kind of one-on-one advice that they may not get from a large plan offering through a firm that just gives them a toll-free number to work with. But again, I think the thing that to tie this all together that's so helpful to consider is, working with your tax advisor and your financial advisor in talking through what is it you're trying to accomplish for your personal savings goals, how that impacts the business, and then how that flows down into your employees. As a quick, closing to this, Marlene had asked me just to talk about what is the difference between a 401k and a Simple IRA. And so I'll tie this all together because that's probably the number one question I get asked is between those two vehicles, which should I use? And it really comes down to how much money do you think you have available to contribute, and how much are you willing to absorb in fees and administrative burdens. A 401k is a more complicated product, but it offers the ability for employees and employer to contribute sometimes as much as $50,000 to $60,000 a year between different elements within the plan. The Simple IRA is just that. It's quite a bit more simple. You cannot have more than 100 employees if you want to offer that to your staff, but most everyone on this recording, I'm guessing, will fit within that zone. And a Simple IRA plan, the limits are right around $14,000 to $17,000 a year, again, depending on whether you're 50 and over or under 50. So you can kind of see the difference. One plan sort of maxes out in that high teens, low 20,000 range for the total amount you can put in. The other type of plan could be essentially bumped up to 60,000 plus or minus dollars. And so if that's something that you're considering, the best thing you can do is reach out to a tax advisor and say, hey, I'm interested in exploring this. And then that tax advisor can also help you work with a financial professional like myself. Or if you have a financial professional, start with them and ask them to loop in your tax advisor. But again, it's so critically important that when you consider offering retirement benefits, if it's the first time you've ever considered offering them, to get the plan up and running, make sure you have your tax advisor working side by side with your financial professional. And then make sure that you communicate very effectively, like Max said, with your staff on the benefit that you're providing to them so that they value it, because it won't be free for you to offer it, but it can provide a tremendous amount of tax savings to you. So hopefully that's helpful.
That's right, Kevin. Kevin's correct. And it really matters what you want going forward. And also it matters what your business entity structure is, because a simple may not make sense because of various tax reasons. Very important to pay attention to that entity structure. There's another thing in what Kevin mentioned that he didn't specifically say, and that's that solo 401k. If you are a sole business owner, the solo 401k is a very inexpensive 401k option for you. And you can max that out yourself, and then the business can match up to, what is it now, Kevin? 56,000. It goes up every year. So
I think I've seen the limits for next year crossing into like 62,000.
And then the catch-up contribution. So what you have there is the opportunity based on what kind of salary you give yourself to really max that retirement plan out. And another thing that we're really pushing in these historically low tax rates for individuals is the Roth 401k, to max out your Roth portion. And that, though it is after tax, the tax rates really are low right now. And then the employer can match on a pre-tax basis up to that limit amount. Those are just a couple of things I wanted to add to Kevin's presentation.
No, that's fantastic. And I'm a huge proponent of using Roth, both IRA and 401k vehicles. Absolutely. And so like Amber said, that's a wonderful way of getting some tax diversification into your retirement savings, which is something that a lot of folks throughout the last 2 decades didn't pay close enough attention to. And so, yes, that's a great idea. And Amber, thanks for bringing that up. And that's also one thing that you kind of have to remember is a benefit of a 401k that the Simple doesn't offer. So certainly another way to consider when you meet with your professionals to talk about what are the benefits of Roth dollars in opposed to the pre-tax dollars.
And unlike the IRA, the 401k Roth version doesn't have an income limit. There's no income cap. So that's helpful.
Thank you all. That is a lot of information, but very good information. I really appreciate it. And I hope our members do. So I have a couple of questions that I just in talking with our members and reading and having a young adult child, just some things that I think are pertinent to small businesses and benefits that they offer. Do you know any businesses that like encourage their employees or allow their employees to take time off to volunteer?
We do. We give 2 paid days off to volunteer for the charity of their choice. In addition to that, we have what we call balanced scorecards, where we meet with our employees quarterly on those goals and objectives that we come up with together. And they are encouraged to pick either a charity or an organization of their choice and get involved with that throughout the year.
Okay.
Yep. And Marlene, that has become quite a trend to do the volunteer time off. It used to be, a couple large corporations would do 4 hours a year. What we're seeing now is a lot of people pushing towards like a 16 hours, 2 days a year of volunteer work for any 501(c)(3). It just kind of, that's been a big trend. And I think that speaks to a larger trend of this idea of culture that's building at a company. I know this may be a little off topic, but one of the huge benefits that people don't talk about is the work culture. And it's starting to become more trend heavy inside of the work for home versus the office culture idea. We've seen kind of that dichotomy play out, but the general idea of what does culture mean to companies. And we've spent a lot more time now working through that as a benefit. So what that can mean is a million different things to each company. And that's important for the company to decide on what they want their culture to be. And then additionally, to listen to the employees and hear that feedback as well. And that's something that I think, all 3 of us here on the panel work with in different regards, because every single aspect of the employee's life at work plays into the culture. And it's important to see that holistically. So that can be, as simple things as like some jobs are able to be work from home, hybrid roles, others are not. Okay, that's a culture defining moment. Not that one's better than the other, but that helps feed into the culture. So how do you continue to build that culture? And I think, again, it kind of goes back to communication and clear understanding. So having a strategic vision for what you want that culture to be, and then communicating it as well.
Oh, thank you. And then along those lines, I heard someone recently that they allow their employees to donate, like after they've been an employee for a specific amount of time, they will donate a certain amount of money on their employees' behalf to the charity of their choice. Is that becoming more common, or is that, do you guys know?
We see a lot of matching gifts.
Mhm.
So where it's donor matching style, inside of a fiscal year, inside of a calendar year, you get, if you donate $500 to come and match that $500, and maybe they'll add an extra $500 if you're on the board or have done a certain amount of hours volunteering with the same organization. However, what you're saying, Marlene, I have heard a couple companies doing that, where maybe it's, at your 1 year anniversary, it's $100. At your 2 year anniversary, it's $200 donated to the charity of choice.
Mhm.
And again, from what I've understood, the companies doing that, it's really that culture building side, but there might also be some tax implications there that they can consider as well. But that's outside of my area of expertise, so I'll let Amber speak on that side.
Well, we do a couple of things similar to that. After their 3rd anniversary, they get $500 toward a concert or a sporting event. We have someone this year using it to go to a Chiefs game. After 5 years, they get another week's vacation. And the next mark is they get $2,500 toward a vacation. So culture things like that are really important to the younger employees coming up nowadays. And again, in our industry, though it is similar to many, it is different in that we are really facing a drop off in people who want to go into our profession for some reason. It's the workload compression, etc. So we try to do whatever we can to make them feel like they're part of a team, like they're welcome, and each new milestone we celebrate as a team together.
Yeah. What are some other, like, I know that there are some businesses who offer like a gym membership, or a massage therapist comes in quarterly or occasionally for their employees. Are there other ideas out there that I'm not thinking of?
Are you speaking on the wellness side, Marlene?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we've actually seen a trend where wellness programs were a big deal, kind of tied into the health benefits, where they maybe offered a reduction of premium or additional pieces. And that trend kind of played out about, let's call it 5 to 10 years ago. And we've actually seen now, just due to the tightening labor market, that any barriers like that have been perceived negatively instead of positively helping the employees. So we're kind of seeing, at least on our side, on the health insurance side, the premium differential between doing like a biometric screening or seeing a doctor, those barriers are kind of starting to fade out a little bit in trend, just because they're not being perceived positively like they might have been, a decade ago or so, where it was hey, we're doing this for your benefit to help. Now it seems invasive, and the employer's requiring extra things to get a lower premium on the health insurance. But that the gym membership side and the massage therapist, all those kind of pieces, that's a little bit different inside of the wellness world, where we're seeing more of those kind of extra perks available to the employees. And a big one we're starting to see is something called a lifestyle spending account. This is actually a new account that's kind of taken storm since 2019 or so, I think, is when Congress enacted the ability to offer a lifestyle spending account. And it is after tax dollars, but it's done similar to how you would see a health reimbursement account or an FSA. And the employer gets to specify certain pieces those can go to. So those lifestyle spending accounts can be a wide variety, but a big one we see is gym membership basis, where the employer can put money in for a gym membership, or different healthy activities. We've seen some groups do healthy food options as well. So kind of things like that are, again, being perceived as more of a benefit versus as a hurdle to get to, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I've seen some of my clients offer like a cafeteria where they have a chef come in and drop off things every day. different things like that, thinking outside the box so their employees don't have to leave. I know some of the really large companies offer daycare. That's not necessarily affordable for a small business, but there are different things like that that can be offered. I know our PEO offers for our employees a certain number of free counseling sessions should they need that. There are different things like that in any plan that Max can probably speak to better than I can.
Yeah, a big one that Amber's mentioning there is what we call an employee assistance program, or EAP.
Mhm.
There's different levels of EAP, and we've actually seen these be a huge trend through the COVID era as
Yeah.
mental health stigma has kind of gone away. So where they used to kind of be baked into a life insurance policy where you'd get, okay, a couple of visits a year if you wanted it. They had very low utilization, under 1% of employees were taking part in that. Now we're starting to see full, robust mental health programs take effect. And it's a great thing to see. I mean, we see it both from the insured side, even more driven by the employees. A lot of employees are going to leadership and saying, hey, we've struggled with this, this, and this. We need your help, and getting that conversation out there. And so EAPs are a great first step into that world of mental health. There are further steps groups can take, such as offering full counseling coverage inside of their health plan where it's covered at no cost, different things like that, offering even sometimes on-site therapist sessions. Again, larger corporations tend to do that more often, but that trend has definitely taken effect, and EAPs are a very affordable option for most small businesses. I mean, they run a couple dollars a month for employees and can get up to, nowadays we're seeing even 11 sessions, face-to-face sessions with a therapist per issue per year. So that can be pretty extensive, right? If someone's going through some trauma, that's once a month covered per issue per year. So again, it can be a very affordable benefit to offer as a small business, or it can even be included in a lot of your plans, and you just, maybe you haven't uncovered that or haven't asked specifically that it be added to a life insurance, a disability. Sometimes even the medical side is offering those as well. So it's definitely something to be on the lookout for. And again, that's an EAP, Employee Assistance Program.
One thing I'm not sure that we've really gotten into that has become increasingly important over the years is flexibility. Giving the employees flexibility, not watching their every move, trusting them. That's very, very important. When they start for us, we give them a computer, a docking station, and 2 monitors to work from home. Now they have to earn that, if they want to earn, like, work from home full time. We have to be able to see what their work product is and trust them, but we trust them first and then move backwards from there. And that's what a lot of people want now. What all businesses are struggling with are companies moving in from the coasts, hiring our employees in the Midwest at coast prices and letting them work from home full time. So we have to move past what our historical thinking was and create an environment that our employees can do that as well.
Absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly, especially in any white collar style job or professional services job. Flexibility is huge. Again, I think we took a ramp. We were already moving towards that trend, but COVID really pushed that on. And we see it all the time where, people want to be able to do daily activities, if they need to run to a doctor's appointment, or, oh no, daycare got shut down, need to go pick up the kids, or do this. They need the flexibility to, maybe work a little bit of different hours. And I understand not every job can do that necessarily, but that flexibility is probably the most important question we're seeing with our groups, telling us that that's what they're hearing from employees during interviews or candidates during interviews, is what's the flexibility situation? Can I work from home if I wanted to? I'm okay coming into an office, but I want the ability to not if I don't need to. Just giving them the options and the trust. I think Amber hit it right on the head there. Trust first, ask questions later, versus used to be more of a prove yourself to earn trust. But now the younger generations especially expect they're trusted until they lose that trust, versus the opposite approach.
And it's quite surprising, actually, if they start out from home, they likely end up in the office because they want to be around people. But like Max said, trust them first and see what happens.
So how do small businesses, like an office of 5 people, how do you recommend they offer flexibility? It's harder. I mean, the chamber office is 7. And Anne offers us a lot of flexibility, but it is very difficult, I know, at times, because sometimes that can mean no one's here.
Well, I think that totally depends on the industry, as Max and Kevin both indicated. You have to utilize technology. Microsoft Teams is what we utilize. And there are 40 of us. I have a couple of employees in Michigan, for instance, that we've actually never met, but we talk to them daily on Teams. And we have some full-time remote here in town, some full-time in the office, some hybrid. As long as you utilize that technology and really are intentional about keeping your culture alive, it absolutely can be done.
I think Amber's point there is the most crucial. It's the culture first. So not every culture is going to make sense to be super, super flexible, but the ones that can afford flexibility into their culture statement or culture ideas, then it'll naturally flow. I mean, it could be as simple as I've heard an employee during an open enrollment meeting tell me that they were promised flexibility, and then they come in and every time they wanted to work from home, they would receive, backhanded messages from their manager. It can be simple things like that too. Just keeping an atmosphere of understanding that there are personal lives outside of that. And this idea of work-life balance, I think, is kind of shifted to work-life integration. It's how can you make work fit into the life better than just trying to compartmentalize and balance the hours spent between the two. And that's where the flexibility really can be a huge deal. But you're right, Marlene, there are times where small offices, it can be almost detrimental to the culture sometimes too. And that's just where it becomes a balancing act. We have some companies that did hybrid working. So they built in flexibility where it was, hey, 2 days a week, you can work from home or in the office, your choice, but the other 3 days we'd like to see you in the office. And that worked well for them, right? They do a lot of team projects as a client. So they needed people together in the same space. But again, striving towards that goal. And then I think the biggest one is just asking and talking to the employees about what does flexibility mean to them and what's important to them in that regard. Because different people will have completely different ideas about what flexibility should be. You might have someone who just graduated college who's come in, this is their first job, and they may want to work till 10 p.m. at night. Kind of work different hours in some sense versus others like their standard 9 to 5. But talking to them, understanding that, and then offering accommodations, I think is probably the most important part of this entire flexibility discussion.
And I would just add to this, and even though this is not really the world I live in as far as employee culture, but don't underestimate the fact that yes, you're a 4, 5, 6 employee organization. And so it's hard to compete against an employer that can offer more, employee benefits. But again, going back to the culture concept, I think there's a real craving in today's landscape for employees to work in an organization where they feel that they're making a direct impact on the future of the organization. They have access to decision makers. And so, yes, it may not have some of the perks that a big company can offer, but on the flip side, you're offering the employee a chance to be part of something exciting and entrepreneurial and that moves fast and you're on the ground making decisions side by side with the owners of the business. And a lot of people are hungry for that right now after working for big organizations and seeing, just the day-to-day grind.
Yeah. Thank you all. I don't think I have any other questions. Do any of you have anything else to say? I see that Anne and Amy are on our call. Do either of you have any questions?
Sorry, my mouse would not unmute me. No, I had a question, and I apologize. I had to join a little late because I was on another project call. But so, any structured retention bonuses you guys are seeing out there, or ways to, I know obviously adding vacation days. I love that idea that you mentioned, Amber, with the $2,500 vacation bonus, or $500 to tickets to a sporting event. I mean, that's a really great and unique idea. And I like that because it does feel really special. I mean, $500 is great, but to get the opportunity to do something you probably wouldn't just go pay to do. I love that. But any other ideas? I mean, I know I've looked at maybe potential ideas here for the chamber, but anything that you guys have seen structured out there as far as a percentage for every year that they stay, or kind of what might look like?
Yes, I have seen that with many of my clients actually, coming to existing employees and giving them a retention bonus that essentially comes with a signed contract that, hey, you're going to get half of this now and then half of this in X number of months or whatever. So I've seen that quite a bit as of late. Another thing that I failed to mention are, adjusted work days outside the norm. Because of our industry's workload compression and all the hours they work during busy season, we then close the office on Fridays from April 16 to January 1, and they just work 36-hour weeks. So we try to do things like that to think outside the box to make them want to not only be in this profession, but be in this office and enjoy this culture that we're trying to promote and offer.
We've done similar here as well. During the summer, we have summer hours, so we close at noon on Fridays. And then during the regular rest of the year, we close at 3:30 on Friday. Simply because there's so many of us that are going to council meetings or night meetings or stuff. So we're working one, if sometimes not 3 or 4 nights a week. So it's kind of that nice balance at the end of the week to let people leave a little bit earlier, even, during the non-summer hours.
Yep, and we're seeing a trend towards, call it a 980, or working every other Friday off ideas in a lot of the professional services side. So that's definitely moving as a trend. I know there's been some studies that are going on right now about 4-day work weeks versus 5-day work weeks, and will those ever take hold or not? That's to be determined, but I do see a lot more companies at least dipping their toes in that pool and trying to work that way. On maybe a seasonal basis, like both Amber and Ann mentioned, or on a full-time basis as well. Like a Black and Veatch here in town is a good example of that. They do the 980 example, where they work 9 days and 80 hours during that 9 days.
Go ahead. Well, I think this has been really interesting. It's been really interesting to sit here and listen to the three of you talk about this. And I know that this is just definitely an issue that, we talk to businesses of all sizes, that everybody is struggling with how to retain talent. We, even here at the chamber, we talk about that. So for our own staff, so I appreciate you taking the time and insight on this. And I personally will probably have some other questions I might run past you. Like, I love this lifestyle account idea. I need to kind of look into that a little bit.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you all. It was great. We will post this on the website. I will also share the link, the recording, with all of you, so you can share it with people if you want. And again, thank you. We really appreciate it. It was great information. It was very informative, and I really think our members will take a lot away from it. So thank you very much.
Appreciate you
great
guys.
day.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yep.